You know, there's these guys named John Mack and Bud Hopkins. And they did a bunch of research and wrote a series of books all about a subject that everybody kind of knows about, but nobody really talks about. And that subject is alien abductions. People who get stolen by aliens. And they get kidnapped, is what happens. And then for some reason afterwards, a lot of them seem to think, oh, no, it wasn't bad. It's like this Stockholm syndrome thing where somehow they justify it because these aliens are just so much more advanced than we are. It's because they're more advanced than us that it's okay for them to come into our houses and essentially kidnap us, sometimes impregnate our wives, do experimental procedures on us, put implants inside of us like we're some kind of cattle, like we're some kind of food lot, creature, like we're some kind of an experiment. And I gotta tell you, I find that unbelievably angering for a bunch of reasons. I mean, it's pretty obvious why I'd find it upsetting that people would just go along with this fact that somehow, you know, their brains have been altered in such a way that, oh yeah, that's no problem. You know, it's not so bad if, you know, these aliens go and they happen to abuse us and kidnap my kids. And they do it generationally too. Well, they took my parents and then they take me and they're going to take my kids as well. And if you can believe this, some people are actually kind of okay with it. They think it's fine. Or they think perhaps it's some kind of justification because they can't stop it from happening. So they just go on with it. And I have long since, as you can imagine, like any normal person, that's not okay. Like there's nothing even remotely okay about it. In fact, it's one of the most warlike things I could imagine. And yet for some reason, nobody really wants to come out and say, yeah, these things are hostile. Now, that's not to say that all of these alien contacts, or even all of these outworld creatures that are encountering us are hostile. But the ones that are taking people, the ones from the East Coast, the ones that are doing these implants and doing this experimentation, that kind of fits into the whole, like, big fish eating little fish thing, you know? Like, maybe humans are not the best. Maybe we take animals and we tag them, we use them as food, we do all that kind of jazz. But that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it justified. I mean, it's the same reason why you watch those videos where it'll be like some hunter will be out somewhere and you watch the video where the deer kicks back and kind of gores the hunter and throws him off to the side. Part of you kind of feels like, yeah, screw that guy. You know, he had to come. He was out there on his turf and, you know, or these guys out spearfishing and they get hit by a shark. Well, you know, you play silly games, you win stupid prizes. That kind of makes sense, you know. Now, I don't wish any harm on anybody ever. But I tell you this much. I think that if you go out there and you think you're going to, you know, encounter and kill things and harvest animals and stuff like that, they got a right to defend themselves. 100%. And I think that we as humans, we seem to have come to this conclusion that we don't have to defend ourselves. We seem to think that it's okay to just knuckle under to this weird alien menace. And nobody wants to call it that. Nobody wants to say it's an alien menace. Now, John Mack's research he was one of the first guys to come forward and realize it medically that this was a true thing. This was something that was really happening. Like this was a real phenomenon. This wasn't just in people's heads. These people had events happening to them. And then you got these weird implants that Lear were to find inside of people. And it seems like, yeah, you know, now we also understand that the US government is involved in using psychics and psionics to conjure these craft and then they shoot them down, which, I mean, couldn't be much more of a warlike action than that. But what is that? What is it that are we already at war? Is that what this Men in Black thing is all about? Well, it would seem to me that we kind of are, and nobody wants to admit it. Alien abduction phenomenon has been going on literally forever, as long as we've had records. So it's a matter of understanding that, number one, it's real, and number two, it's a threat. And the one thing that I've found really interesting is that I never hear about dogs or cats. I mean, sometimes you'll hear about a dog, and especially with Bigfoot reports, dogs hate these things. But I think there's something about the nature of it, you know what I mean? these outworld enemies, that animals are somehow a lot more connected to it than we are. And also, they're really terrified of humans getting control. So, if they're so advanced, and we're just, these savage monkeys that get our brains altered to the fact that, like, no, it's okay, I don't mind, it's going to be fine. If they're so advanced, why are they trying to hybridize with us? Why are they trying to take something from us that they don't have? Why are they doing that? It must mean that they're not perhaps as advanced as we think they are. And, they think the Greys, I've heard this a lot, are some kind of like drone, or some kind of like machine that they use to work with the humans, which makes sense. I mean, you wouldn't want to get inside of the cage with the shark, right? So you got to wonder, who's operating these drones? Who's doing this stuff? Who's responsible for these abductions? Well, whoever they are, they're not very nice. They're not being very friendly, and they're not our friends. And to think otherwise is just fooling yourself. So guys like Dr. Stephen Greer, who seem to think that with his CE5 protocols and all that, oh yeah, these creatures are all completely, they're friendly and they're loving and all that kind of jazz. Maybe the ones he's contacting are. That's not to say that everything that swims in the water is a shark. But I do think that there's definitely got to be something going on with this abduction phenomena where people are being hurt, people are having their children taken, women are being impregnated, livestock are being cut up. What is all that about? There's something sinister which is implied with that. And it's not wrong to come forwards and point that out. It's not wrong to say, hey, you know what? We need to expose this to the light of day. We need to come forward and say, yeah, there are creatures that seem to think we're just another being to be harvested. And we're not. We're humans. And as humans, we have dominion of this world. Maybe you don't agree with that, but I do. I think that this is our world. And we're really good at fighting. Amazing at it, actually. Maybe the best in the universe. We haven't found anybody else who's better at it than we are. Because we will take anything that we can catch, grab, or steal and turn that into a weapon. It's not one of our finer traits, but it is a trait. So maybe that's why these things are so scared of us. Maybe they're advanced. Maybe they have a few tricks up their sleeve. But we need to be realistic with the fact that no matter what these things are, not all of them are our friends, and we should act accordingly.